bakery that had once been a place of comfort and routine now seemed hollow. The walls echoing with the absence of Luca's letters, the space between her and him widening with each passing day. She continued to walk to the mailbox every morning, though her heart no longer fluttered with hope. Instead, it sank further each time she opened it and found it empty, just like her life without Luca. Her thoughts never strayed far from him. His letters, his words, his promises, each one had been a lifeline, keeping her tethered to him even in the darkest moments of the war. But now, those words seemed so distant, as if they were part of a dream she had once lived. A dream that was now slipping away from her grasp, no matter how hard she tried to hold on. Isabella found herself visiting the same places she and Luca had shared their moments. Standing by the window of the bakery, where he had first confessed his love for her, waiting for him to appear as he had promised. Every day she waited, but the silence grew louder and the waiting became unbearable. She often dreamed of him, of his gentle voice whispering in her ear, telling her he would return. In her dreams, he held her close, his arms around her, making the world feel safe again. But then the dreams would fade and she would wake to find herself alone. One afternoon, as Isabella was closing the bakery, she noticed a familiar face in the doorway. A man older and weathered by the years stepped inside. His eyes were filled with a sorrow she could not place, and his uniform, though faded and worn, was unmistakable. Isabella's breath caught in her throat as she realized who it was. "Captain Emilio," she whispered, her voice trembling. The captain nodded slowly, his gaze a mixture of sadness and regret. He handed her a small weathered box, his hands shaking as he did. "Isabella." He paused as though struggling to find the right words. "I'm sorry." The box felt heavy in her hands, too heavy. She hesitated, her fingers brushing over the old wood as memories of Luca flooded her mind. She opened it slowly as if bracing for the inevitable. Inside she found the items she had never hoped to see again. The beret Luca had worn, the necklace with his initials, and the small note he had written before he left. It was Luca's final letter.
"My beloved Isabella, I wanted to write to you one last time, but I know my time is limited. The war has taken much from us, and I fear it will take me as well. I never wanted to leave you with a broken heart, and I regret that I won't be there to hold you when the war ends, as I had promised. I want you to know that you are the love of my life. Isabella, I will carry your love with me until my last breath. If fate does not allow me to return, know that I will always be with you, in your heart, in your dreams. Please, do not mourn me forever. Live as we had always planned. Live with the love we shared. Yours, Luca."
The words were like a knife to her heart. She had always believed that Luca would return, that his promises would be fulfilled. But now, it was clear that those promises had been nothing more than words whispered into the night. He was gone. The weight of the box in her hands grew unbearable as her tears fell freely, staining the letter and the items Luca had left behind. She could hear his voice in her mind, his promises echoing in her heart. But there was no one to hold her now, no one to wipe away the tears, no one to make the pain stop. Captain Emilio stood silently, watching her cry. He had seen the anguish in her eyes, the loss that had consumed her. "I'm sorry," he said again, his voice breaking. Isabella looked up at him, her eyes filled with a sorrow that was too deep for words. "Why?" she whispered. "Why didn't he come back?" Emilio shook his head, his face stricken with regret. "He fought with all his heart, Isabella. But war is cruel. He wanted nothing more than to be with you, to fulfill his promise." Isabella nodded slowly, her heart heavy with grief. She felt as though the world had crumbled around her, leaving nothing but the remnants of dreams and promises never kept. The love she had shared with Luca was now just a memory, a beautiful, painful memory. Isabella stood in the quiet bakery, the small box given by Captain Emilio still clutched in her hands. Time seemed to stand still as she stared at the items inside the box. Luca's beret, the small necklace with his initials, and a final letter written in faded ink. With trembling hands, Isabella opened the letter, her eyes clouded with tears that were beginning to fall. It was the letter Luca had written, the man she loved, the man she had believed would return to her. But now, that letter had become their final goodbye, cutting through her heart with a pain she couldn't describe.
My dearest Isabella, if you are reading this letter, then the worst has happened. The war has taken me from you, and I can only pray that you find peace, knowing how deeply I loved you. I never wanted to leave you with a broken heart, but in these moments, all I have left to give are these words. Please, remember the love we shared, the promises I made. I wanted nothing more than to hold you in my arms again, to make you my wife, as we had dreamt of. But if I don't return, then know this. You will forever be in my heart. I will wait for you in another life, my love. And when we meet again, I will ask you to be mine forever. Yours, Luca?
Isabella swayed slightly, her body weak as she read those words. I will wait, she whispered softly. Those words felt heavy on her lips. She didn't want to let go of hope, didn't want to accept the truth that Luca would never come back. She brought the necklace inside the box close to her chest, feeling its weight, as if a part of Luca was still there. Gently, she kissed the necklace, then gazed at the beret that Luca had once worn with so much love. Tears streamed down her face, soaking the cheeks that had once been bright with love and hope. Why did you have to go, Luca? Why? She murmured as she hugged the beret tightly to her chest. There, amidst the heartache that crushed her, Isabella felt the world empty without Luca. She could feel his presence in every breeze, in every heartbeat, but there were no smiles or embraces to warm her anymore. Gently, she kissed the beret again, whispering words she could only say to his memory. I will wait, Luca. No matter how long. Her tears flowed freely, and though her heart shattered, Isabella knew one thing. Her love for Luca would never fade. Even if his body couldn't return to her, his spirit and love would live on in her heart. Luca was gone, and his promises would never be fulfilled. But in every part of her being, Isabella knew she had loved with all her heart, even though the world had been cruel. She stared out the bakery window, hoping that someday, somewhere, perhaps they would meet again. But until that time came, she would live with the beautiful memories Luca had left, memories that would never fade, even as time passed and distance separated them. And above all, even though filled with sorrow, Isabella knew one thing for sure: their love would always remain in her heart. Weeks turned into months, and Isabella tried to move forward, though the pain of losing Luca never truly left her. She continued to work at the bakery, her hands mechanically kneading dough, her mind constantly drifting back to him. The letters she had kept so close, the words of love that had once been so vibrant, now felt like a distant dream. She never stopped loving him, but with each passing day, she realized that she was alone, and that nothing could bring him back to her. The war had taken him, and there was no undoing the damage it had caused. And so, she continued to live her life, carrying Luca's memory in her heart, a memory of love that could never be fulfilled. She would never forget him, but she also knew that the life they had dreamed of together would remain a dream forever. Isabella would always wait for him, no matter how long it took. But in her heart, she knew that some promises, no matter how sweet and sincere, were not meant to be kept.
A promise in the quiet. Forgive me, my love, for not coming home. My body lies where the battle roams, but though I cannot return to your embrace, a part of me will always find its place. This necklace, a token of what we shared, will rest upon you, showing how much I cared. Though my arms can no longer hold you tight, this symbol of love will carry me through the night. The beret I wore, once proud and bold, now returns to you, more precious than gold. Though my footsteps will never again walk by your side, in the softness of this gift, my heart will still reside. I may not be there to kiss your lips or call your name, but my love will endure, burning like a flame. And when you hold these gifts close to your chest, know, my dear, they are my final request. For though I cannot return to you in flesh and bone, in this love, you are never alone.